when you talk about the pound for pound grades, and it's a term that we throw out a lot in this sport to a point that it kind of bothers me when guys do it, but then I find myself doing it. And it's really tough. And I don't totally know why this is in mixed martial arts. Why do we keep every week, every other week, definitely within every month, we're coming out with a new, who's the pound for pound great, not just the greatest, right, greatest of all time. You don't see it. Football, they'll go play 6 months. Nobody comes out and goes, that's the greatest player of all time. And then 6 months later, it's something that never, it takes a decade before you start getting the Joe Montana and Steve Young and Jerry Rice arguments. It's right. Same thing goes in basketball. They go play 20 games. LeBron doesn't get his spot taken every other week, but we do it in MMA, and I'm guilty of it too. So I just spent a minute trying to figure, why? Why do we do that? Is it because of the different weight classes? Is that what it is? Because there is so much variation, and you're talking about pound for pound, so it does matter who you kind of saw fight most recently? Or is it the fact that the sport keeps getting better? I don't know that you could say that about other sports over the last reasonable period of time, even 40 years. I don't know that you could say golf and tennis, some of these other mainstream sports and hockey and baseball, I don't know that it's evolved at the level that MMA's evolved. That isn't to say and put MMA over in front of other sports. MMA's newer. You're going to have more growth. That's just a reality. But we keep hearing this talk. You look at the bullet tonight, Shevchenko, not just the kick that she threw, which was devastating over a great athlete. You go back to the last 10 seconds of the first round and you look at that submission she put on. Okay, she puts on a double wrist lock, a Kimura. She puts on a submission on one side. She traps the near arm because she's in half guard with her leg. Then she elevates her chest. She elevates her. I mean, this is high level grappling technique. We know she's a great kickboxer. To see that level of grappling technique is something that you really need to consider. When you talk about pound for pound, okay, and it is not a fair conversation, it is nothing more than mythical. But there is a relevance in the sport changing when you have somebody like Henry Cejudo, who's not only conquered 2 different sports, but he's conquered 3 different weight classes. When you have a guy like George St-Pierre, who conquered 2 different weight classes over 3 different generations, when you have somebody like Daniel Cormier, it becomes relevant. Because at the top of the pound for pound list on most people's rankings is John Jones. I tend to agree with that. I see where you guys are coming from. I'm just sharing with you that over a period of time, it will not reflect as fondly upon him if he doesn't change weights at some point. I'm not insisting anything other than what's happening with the sport, and you're seeing this champ thing. Eventually, we're going to see a champ thing. But over time, when you look back, it's going to be an issue. I don't know that John could go to 185, and I don't know that he should go up to heavyweight. He seems like the perfect 205 pounder. This isn't a commentary on John. It's a commentary on the sport and the fact that it's evolving and changing. Here's what I would like to have. Here's my point before any of you think that this was a John topic. We got all these fighters, and it keeps changing on who the pound for pound grade is, and it does with me too. Every time I see something, I go, that's the pound for pound. Happens all the time. Let's do this. Let's take the top 5 athletes. I don't give a damn if it's male or female, what weight class, don't care how it is. The top 5 pound for pound fighters in the world. Let's put them all on the same card. One after another so we have no recency bias. So we don't get separated with our short-term memories and just whatever we saw last. Let's call the card pound for pound. We're not going to call it UFC 235, 236, 230. We're going to call it pound for pound. We're going to put all the top 5 in there with the number 1 contenders. We're going to run them out there together, and then we're going to decide. I think that's the only way that we won't have the recency bias.